Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching. Go. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy, Mac. And tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Chicago Bulls to kick off their slate of preseason games. And oh boy, there was no shortage of things to keep an eye on, even down to that final play. By the way, kudos to Kenny Atkinson for drawing up that last second play, because Thomas Bryant had every single opportunity to win the game for Cavs, right? Luke Travers, the pass may have been a little bit behind, but that was still one that he could have caught midair and threw down, or at least gotten the layup off, kind of like a touch and go type of thing. But he brought the ball down with him and got blocked in the process. So yeah, it is what it is. It's preseason hoops. I don't care about the wins, the losses, but I got to say, big ups, big props to Kenny Atkinson. That was a huge play call at the end of the game. Like I said, there were no shortage of things to watch in this one. Lonzo Ball made his unofficial Cleveland Cavaliers debut, as did Tyrese Proctor, who we're going to talk about in a minute. Thomas Bryant, as we already mentioned. Larry Nance Jr. put the wine and gold back on for the first time in over 5.5 years, if you can believe that. That's crazy. All the young talent got good run tonight. Isaac Okoro returned to Cleveland, albeit in a different jersey, and looked pretty good out there, especially in an off-ball role, starting for the Chicago Bulls. Yes, indeed, there were no shortage of storylines tonight. But first off, let me just say, man, it feels so good to be back talking Cavaliers basketball after a game. I know that I've been working hard on these live streams and content all offseason long, but to come on live after a game, man, there's no other feeling to converse with you guys. So it feels really, really good to be back, and the season is nearly here. But let's jump right into what we saw tonight, and there is no dancing around it. The starting lineup, we got word about 70 to 75 minutes before tip-off that Sam Merrill would be out with a minor oblique injury, I believe, which is, better safe than sorry. And this is the lineup that we got. In the meantime, we got Donovan Mitchell at the point, which I think we all felt like this motherfucker was going to be out there during the first, at the point during the first game. Probably going to be the same way during the regular season. Jalen Tyson was the surprise addition in the starting lineup tonight. And you know what? I got a couple of thoughts on Jalen Tyson tonight, most of them good, some of them not so good, but I was pleasantly surprised in a few areas from Jalen Tyson. We'll talk about him just in a minute. DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen to round out the front court. Now, I think we all wanted to see our guy DeAndre Hunter in his first full offseason with Cleveland draw this starting nod at the three, and especially with Max Strus being out, Darius Garland being out, Sam Merrill being a last-second exclusion. I think we all wondered what the hell the lineup was going to look like, whether or not DeAndre Hunter would slide back into a reserve role, especially without having a solidified bench scorer out there. Boy, oh boy, did we get a nice surprise from multiple Cavaliers in that area, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think we were all happy to see DeAndre Hunter out there in the starting lineup. And the one thing that really popped off the screen to me, at least in his 17 minutes and 41 seconds out there that we saw from him, it wasn't the scoring. He only took two 3-point attempts tonight, but he went 7 of 9 from the field for 17 points. The biggest thing that popped off the screen to me, the rebounding. What have we been asking for out of the three for quite some time now, outside of the defense? on the perimeter, being able to match up with a nice size out there, 6'7" or so. We've been asking for rebounding. DeAndre Hunter went in there, pulled down 7 huge rebounds tonight. I know the Cavaliers lost, but I genuinely felt like this dude was out there hustling on the board. You saw him pulling some down on the defensive glass, and I cannot help but love that, right? All but one of his rebounds were of the defensive variety out there. So that's between him and Tyson. Those are the two things that I was looking to see tonight. We already know what Donovan Mitchell can look like at the point, and obviously Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen are solidified in the 4 and 5 spots. But yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm just watching this game, and honestly, I don't even know where to start sometimes because there was just so much that we saw tonight. It's kind of like a sensory overload kind of thing out there. So I guess we'll jump into the Jalen Tyson of it all. Here's the thing with Jalen Tyson, right? Defensively, he was popping off the screen tonight. There were 2 blocks in particular that he had, where one was a weak side block and one was directly at the rim. We just went up and rejected a shot right out there. And his stat line, he would finish with 0 points. That's the one thing that I think a lot of people are going to look at. But if you're watching specifically from a box score standpoint, you will not appreciate what Jalen Tyson did out there tonight, because defensively, he did a lot of big things, whether that was screen navigation or staying assigned to the players out there, chasing them around screens, through screens, whether that was weak side help down in the post area, whether that was transition defense. This dude was doing a little bit of it all on the defensive end, kind of looking like Isaac Okoro out there at points, but with the rebound, but with the blocking aspect to it. So if you're looking at the box score purely, if you didn't have the opportunity to watch this game live, you're just looking at the 0 that he put up, the goose egg that he put up in the points area, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. But I was really impressed with what Jalen Tyson brought to the table, drawing that start at the 2. Now, that being said, I'm not going to just sugarcoat everything. One of the things that we kept hearing from Reggie Miller, if you listen to the Peacock broadcast, and that's a whole nother topic within itself, hate the fact that you got to get all these different subscriptions now to watch these games, unless you're using, a free service or whatnot. We all know what those are. I'm not going to point any out in particular, right? I'm not going to throw anybody under the under the bus or get called out for it. But Jalen Tyson, one of the things that was brought up on the broadcast was that, if he's going to be out there for a sustained amount of time, what he is going to have to do is knock down those triples, right? Reggie Miller was 1000% correct when he said that Jalen Tyson needed to be able to knock down the triple if he is to be able to remain in the rotation full time, especially considering that the defense is almost certainly going to continue to sag off of him on each attempt. And we've been watching this team for quite some time now, right? I mean, obviously I'm a lifelong fan, but some of you out there, I'm sure you can say the same thing about yourselves. And the one thing that we could have said over the past 5 seasons is that this is exactly what we dealt with Isaac Okoro, right? It's the Isaac Okoro dilemma. He's got to be able to knock that shot down, especially off of drive and kicks when the other guards or ball handlers collapse the paint on dribble drives. He's got to be able to knock that shot down, whether it's from the corners, above the break, the slots, wherever, what have you. Jalen Tyson is going to have to be able to knock down that shot. Now, keep in mind that this is a player that shot just 34.5% from three-point distance last year during his rookie year, right? 20 of 58 to be exact. And to make matters worse, he shot just 32.1% on catch and shoot looks. Do I take that percentage? Do I take those numbers as a definitive answer on whether or not he can shoot? Do I take the 0 of 5 night that he had from the field, and all of those being 3-point opportunities, by the way? Do I take that and immediately write him off? Absolutely the fuck not, right? Just one preseason game. Can't get too high, too low. Can't get too high, too low on the rookie year percentages either for a guard / wing, whatever you consider Jalen Tyson to be. But the confidence, the willingness to take that shot is something that Isaac oftentimes did not have. We'll talk about him in just a minute. Same can be said for a player like Dean Wade at times. Jalen Tyson, he will actually pull the trigger. We saw him do it during Summer League action. We saw him do it at points during last season, and we saw him do it again tonight. So I do believe that will come around eventually, but it is worth noting that the percentages have not looked good dating back to last season. So a little bit of good or a little bit of bad with the good, right? You got to put a little bit of salt in there. But overall, I enjoyed watching Jalen Tyson out there tonight, especially on the other end of the floor. And I know that a lot of you guys did too. Speaking of Isaac Okoro, by the way, big fan of Isaac Okoro, kind of always have been. But you guys know that I was kind of leading the charge in regard to trading for Lonzo, including Isaac Okoro in that deal constantly. And I'm glad that they were able to get the job done. But I did like what I saw out of Isaac on the other end too. 3 of 7 from the field, 11 points. He did turn the ball over 5 times, was really sloppy with it. Whenever he had the opportunity to handle, and that's not really what he does. He was just 2 of 6 from 3-point distance. But again, 6 3-point attempts in that starting lineup where presumably that's where he's going to be throughout the duration of the season for Chicago. But I think that this is probably going to be the first season of his career where he actually gets enough touches to crack double-digit scoring figures over there, because Lord knows, with such a talented team, so much offensively skilled players on this Cleveland Cavaliers roster, he was never going to get that here. So if nothing else, I wish Isaac Okoro the best. I think that one of the things that he brought to the table tonight was that back cut. Chicago as a whole, they were killing Cleveland on back cuts. I don't know if there were just defensive miscues and miscommunications out there, and you can expect that for a second unit that's trying to implement and integrate pieces that in the back end, and you can understand why you might have some of those, and that'll come in time. But they were definitely getting Cleveland on those backdoor cuts, and Isaac Okoro was a big part of that. So happy to see him doing well over there. Going to be rooting for him, except for when the Bulls play the Cavs. But I was pleasantly surprised to see some of what Isaac brought to the table tonight. Now, one of the bigger stars of the game, Larry Nance Jr. Larry Nance Jr. in his return to the Cleveland Cavaliers was phenomenal tonight in limited action. This is Larry Nance Jr.'s stat line in case you didn't get an opportunity to check it out. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals out there, was 4 of 9 from 3-point distance. I think he was 0 of 5 from 3-point range tonight. I think all 5 of his misses actually came from beyond the arc. But here's the thing with Larry Nance Jr. I thought that he was as advertised. He did a bit of everything from rim running out of the pick and roll, transition play, whether that be on the offensive side or the defensive side. He brought interior defense to the table tonight, some rebounding, as I mentioned, off-ball movement, really a connective tissue out there with the ball in his hands, as you can see with the 4 assists. And that is big time to have from a front court player, presumably he was going to play the bulk of the minutes at backup 5. And listen, right off the bat, I got to clear this up because I know that there's a lot of people, and we'll talk about Thomas Bryant here in a little bit too, but there are a lot of people that believe that Thomas Bryant should play over Larry Nance Jr. at that backup 5 position purely based upon the fact that he is bigger. Listen, Larry Nance Jr. for the last 3 seasons, whether that be Atlanta or New Orleans, Larry Nance Jr. has played the center position predominantly. He played 81% of his minutes there in 2022-23. He played 98% of his minutes there for New Orleans during the 2023-24 season. And just this last season with the Atlanta Hawks, he played 62% of his minutes. Now, mind you, he still can play the 4, and he will play the 4 at points for this team. And having that positional versatility is big. But for me, my money, I am betting on Larry Nance Jr. getting the bulk of the backup 5 minutes. One, because I think that they like what he brings to the table from a movement standpoint. He is quicker than Thomas Bryant out there. 2, because he is a better floor spacer. I know it didn't show up tonight, 0 of 5 from 3-point distance. That was the only thing we really didn't see, but he was willing to let that shot fly, and he did. He is coming off a season in which he shot very, very well in limited action for the Atlanta Hawks before the injury. He is a very, very dependable shooter from three-point distance at this point in his career. Again, 44.7% from three-point range was Larry Nance Jr. just this past season. And I'm willing to bet that based off of what we saw tonight, and again, Thomas Bryant came in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is closer to what we're going to see, at least between those two, as we get closer to the regular season. I think Larry is probably the first man up. He'll get first opportunity to play the initial backup 5 minutes. And if they need to switch things up to face off with a more physical big out there, Thomas Bryant is your guy. We're talking about the Mitchell Robinsons or the Wendell Carter Jr.'s of the world, right? Your Isaiah Hartensteins, just the bigger physical, kind of beefier centers out there. That's a perfect switch up. And honestly, Thomas Bryant is a hell of a insurance policy to have, which is why I was so damn happy to get him with that 14th roster spot. So when you're looking at this, Larry Nance Jr. was one of the players of the game, in my opinion. Just wonderful performance. And I really honestly love the ball movement that he brought to the table tonight. He sees the floor extremely well for a big. It just astounds me, right? It astounds me the plays that he is able to make. And it's not necessarily with like while he is on the move. It's stationary. He is seeing things and he's moving the ball in real time. It's a beautiful sight. And to have that in your second unit alongside Alonzo Ball, alongside a Craig Porter Jr., alongside a Dean Wade or a Tyrese Proctor out there, and eventually Max Strus and Sam Merrill, it's going to be big. Having a whole bunch of players out there that see the floor very well and can move the ball and get guys into better positions, it's big. But now we talk about the two stars of the game, in my opinion, Craig Porter Jr. and Tyrese Proctor. Oh my gosh. Listen, Craig Porter Jr., let's start off with him. This is a guy who for the life of me, we know that Craig Porter Jr. can theoretically bring what he brought to the table tonight every night, as long as he is confident. He put up 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 6 of 9 from the field. But the kicker here, listen, this motherfucker was 5 of 5 from three-point range. When could we have ever have said that over the past 2 seasons for Craig? Not only the fact that he knocked them down, but the fact that he attempted them. This is just frankly not something that we have seen from Craig Porter Jr. that often. Now, if you haven't checked it out, I actually did a full-on breakdown, a full-on season preview for Craig Porter Jr. heading into this season. And one of the big talking points during that was, frankly, the lack of three-point attempts during not only his rookie season, but his sophomore year as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Porter Jr. only attempted 5 or more triples in one game last year. And mind you, he appeared in 51 games. He only attempted more than 5 once. Can dare to take a guess in which game that happened in. The final game of the season against the Indiana Pacers. That, to me, is all that I need to know in regard to Craig when you're talking about three-point shooting. And in terms of his rookie year, just one time as well, 2 of 5. If this is the new norm for Craig Porter Jr., we're in for a great season, guys. We have 2 very, very high-level guards out there that kind of do different things. Lonzo Ball obviously did not have the best showing tonight from a statistical standpoint as he's trying to get his feet wet out there with this new Cavaliers roster. But Craig Porter Jr. was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. And the best thing about what he did tonight, he pulled up on these hoes out here, man. He was out here pulling up. He was out here with the confidence not to just catch and shoot. And mind you, there were a few of those, but he was pulling up in the defenders' faces. That is not something you could frankly say about Craig in seasons past. And that was the most impressive part about what he did tonight. Damn the fact that the point production was there. Damn the fact that he was efficient. It was simply the confidence to pull the trigger and do it while on ball. That was big time. And I think that was the biggest thing that we needed to see from Craig. I'm very, very hopeful that he continues that heading into this second preseason matchup. But holy hell, that was one hell of a performance from Craig Porter Jr. in preseason game number 1. The other player that needs a bunch of praise heaped upon him, Tyrese Proctor. Yo, the league done messed up. They let this dude fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round. This is a first round talent, folks. This is a first round talent. I cannot believe that he fell to Cleveland. And I'm trying so very, very hard not to overreact to what we saw, but it's not every day that you're able to snag a shooter of his caliber. We're talking about a player who shot 40.5% from three-point distance in his final season at the collegiate level. 12.4 points, 3 rebounds, 2.2 assists. He shot 45.2% from the field overall in his final season with the Duke Blue Devils. But listen, this is a player that we know not necessarily look the greatest in terms of the on-ball production, the ability to handle the rock, but I was really, really surprised about what I saw. He looked completely different than the player that we saw heading into Summer League. Just completely different. And again, you're going to look different when you're around NBA caliber or level talent juxtaposed to Summer League level guys who are just trying to get their foot in the door and not necessarily the most cohesive units and lineups being thrown out there and forcing guys into roles they may or may not be comfortable with. But Tyrese Proctor tonight, at least for tonight, he was a star. Very efficient. 5 of 6 from the field, 3 of 4 from three-point distance. He did knock down his free throw tonight, one of them coming off of a 4-point play, right? Phenomenal stuff, man. Phenomenal stuff that we got to see from the Cavs rook. And I don't know what the future holds in terms of his role, but one thing that I can say is that this dude can shoot. He can shoot. He has the confidence. And I think that as long as the Cavaliers continue to throw him opportunities throughout the season, in due time, he is going to be a very, very capable role player for them. Maybe a potential Nance Strus or Sam Merrill replacement down the line. Not this year. I'm not going to throw that type of pressure or expectation upon Tyrese Proctor in year 1 for a championship contending team such as the Cavs. But I think I've seen enough from him to see the potential that the Cavaliers fell in love with enough to take a chance on him in that second round where he was just falling, man. I just don't get it. How did he fall? How did he not go in the first round, or at least, late first round, early second round, farther, being drafted quicker than he was? Just crazy to me. And the one of the biggest sequences of the game to me that I was very impressed with was the simple fact that, being on ball, like I mentioned, being on ball, he looked really, really comfortable out there. He entered the game a little after Lonzo Ball's night ended and almost immediately made himself useful. Scored in transition, and he immediately followed that up by absolutely cooking in the half court, hitting a smooth behind the back move, followed by a turnaround fade away from the mid-range area that was straight up cash. And then again, the three-point production. He was money tonight, man. I'm so damn happy that the Cavaliers were able to luck into getting this guy because Lord knows heading into this offseason, all the questions were how the Cavaliers are going to be able to field a competent back end rotation with the lack of assets, lack of cap space. And what did they do, man? They got Tyrese Proctor in the draft. They brought in Lonzo Ball in place of Isaac Okoro and Ty Jerome. They got Larry Nance Jr. They got Thomas Bryant. They filled out the back end of the rotation wonderfully. Just a very good offseason by Mike Gansey, Kobe Altman, and the rest of that front office. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to stay a little bit more even keeled and not overreact to everything, especially with this just being one game in the preseason. But it's very hard to watch what I just watched in that first game and not be fucking excited about what Tyrese Proctor could bring to the table in a year or two's time, given those opportunities throughout the season. If I'm not mistaken, he actually led the Cavaliers in plus minus tonight, was a plus 11. Next closest player was there was a bunch of players who were +4 tonight. Craig Porter Jr., Larry Nance Jr., Naquan Tomlin, Dean Wade. And again, plus minus is one of those stats where you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because it is more so of a team type of thing. But to me, I think I saw enough from Tyrese Proctor to give him a few opportunities of players are struggling in the back end of that rotation. And I'm talking about, and this is going to be entirely dependent upon who starts, but when everybody's healthy, if Max Strus or Sam Merrill are struggling, hey, it pays to know you can look down the bench and you got this guy named Tyrese Proctor who can shoot the hell out of the basketball, who he's not a primary ball handler, but does enough as far as secondary creation and secondary ball handling to be able to be trustworthy. And I think the key thing for him is going to be able to be whether or not he can actually keep up defensively, because if you watched him at all during his college days or at the collegiate level, rather, he's not the best athlete, but one thing that he does do is he hustles and he tries, and he does use his 6'4", 6'5" or so frame in that wingspan, which I believe he was measured at 6'7.25" out there, which is actually 20th most among the 37 guards that were measured at the NBA draft combine. He uses that every bit of his size to his advantage to contest shots at the point of attack and clog those passing lanes. And he has proven to actually be a pretty good defender against wings and larger guards. But here's the thing. Against the quicker, more shifty ball handlers, that's where he can struggle. So that to me likely means from a matchup standpoint, we're probably going to see him facing off against 2s and 3s rather than 1s and 2s. And I think that's the way you can circumvent that. Just surround him with a defender at guard like Lonzo or Sam who can handle those shiftier guys out there. But to me, I think he easily could benefit from just sitting back and being able to be pushed in practice by some of the speedier guards on the roster, like a Darius Garland or a Donovan Mitchell. I think in time, he'll end up being a Sam Merrill-like defender, not necessarily the best on-ball perimeter defender, but somebody who could hold his own against 2s and 3s. So we'll have to see. I was just really, really, really surprised with what we saw from him tonight. And again, the shooting, that was phenomenal. But the on-ball creation that he showcased tonight, that was over the top for me. It's such a fun thing to see. And then you go on down the list here, right? I don't know how I missed Evan Mobley. I guess I should probably talk about Evan Mobley a bit. As the broadcast crew was just gushing over the potential. And if you watch a Peacock broadcast, Carmelo Anthony and company were really, really talking about their belief in him potentially being a top 5, top 10 type guy, MVP caliber player this upcoming season. And you know what? I don't know how you cannot believe that based upon what we have seen. His stat line reads 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block out there, 5 of 10, 2 of 4 from 3-point range. Here's the thing with Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, we know that the 3-point production is going to be elevated. 4 attempts tonight, 3 or 4 attempts during the season last year per game is what you most likely saw, with the occasional 5 or 6 being put up. But that's not where Evan Mobley's bread is going to need to be buttered if he's looked at as one of the elite offensively skilled bigs out there, because we already know what the hell he can do on the defensive side. He's won Defensive Player of the Year award. He's been nominated, or rather named, to an all-defensive team twice in his career now, been an all-star. In order for him to be able to take the necessary leap that we believe that he can to get the Cavaliers into that like bona fide championship caliber team, we got to see him add that consistent midi to his game. We saw that tonight, right? He burrowed his way inside and into the lower post areas around the elbows. And what he do? He had to turn around, pull up midi. That is something he has been working on all offseason. We know he's added strength, added muscle. He looks a little bit bigger out there. It's noticeably bigger frame out there. But in order for him to do that and look like a top 5 player, he has to be able to do that consistently. And I think from what we saw, based upon what we saw tonight, I think that's coming, man. I think it is absolutely coming. That along with the on ball, right? And we did see him bring the ball up the floor a few times. We saw him get the ball in the half court. And I think you want to see him add those little intricacies to his game, be able to handle the rock a little bit better, tighten that up, be able to function as a true offensive hub out there around the elbows. And these are all things that we know that he is capable of doing. It's just doing them consistently. And I think just seeing what we saw tonight, that just reinforces my belief that this dude is going to be no worse than a top 10 player. He's already flirting with that. He was named to second team all NBA. That sort of signifies that he is already one of the 10 best players in basketball, but that is such a subjective thing that I'm not going to be mad at you if you have him in that 11 to 15 range. I automatically have already started to believe that this dude is going to be a top 10 player no matter what this year. And, Donovan Mitchell's already viewed in most respects, in most outlets, have him as a top 10 player. So not only do you have one, but you're going to have two. I cannot believe that this dude just he has so much more that he can add to his game. The shot looks better. It's quicker out there. The release is smoother. The timing just looks a lot better out there. The confidence is there. And I think one of the bigger things that we were asking of Evan Mobley heading into this offseason and heading into the 2025-26 season is vocality. Call for that damn basketball. Be somebody out there that is, you know what? I'm open. Give me the rock. I have a mismatch. Give me the rock. Let me drive inside. Let me facilitate from the elbows like a Nikola Jokic or a Domantas Sabonis or somebody out there. Let me function as that true offensive hub. Evan Mobley's going to get them to the promised land. That is what I believe. And I think you got a small glimpse of that tonight. He did a little bit of everything out there. And then you saw the big-to-big passing between himself and Jarrett Allen. I think that he's going to be able to get Darius, Garland, and Donovan Mitchell more off-ball looks, something that we saw in small increments last year. But I think that with Darius being out, presumably for the first couple of weeks, I think when he returns, Darius, we're going to see him in much more of an off-ball role than we have in the last couple of seasons. We know that Darius is a hell of a basketball player, but I think in order for this team to take that next step, like Donovan and Darius, and to a lesser extent, DeAndre Hunter, Max Strus, whoever starts out there is going to have to try to continue to take sort of a back seat to Evan in his development from an offensive standpoint, because this is a dude who has like MVP talent written all over him. He may never actually win that award, but he's going to be a proverbial or a perennial top 5 player every year once he reaches his full potential. And I cannot wait for that to happen. One of the things that I was really looking forward to seeing tonight was Thomas Bryant. He did suit up for 12 minutes tonight. I think he played the entire fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Thomas Bryant would put up 6 points. We would record 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And guess what? Thomas Bryant actually did, unlike Nance Jr., he did knock down 2 triples on his 3 attempts tonight. Thomas Bryant, from a physicality standpoint, he brings everything and more to the table that you could ask for out of the 14th player on the roster. He is somebody that, if Evan Mobley or Jarrett Allen or Nance Jr. or Dean Wade, if they are all struggling, this is somebody you can turn to in a playoff scenario, a playoff setting, and that he'll contribute. He did it for Indiana last year against Cleveland. He did it against New York. He appeared for them during the finals, and he does technically have a championship ring, although he didn't really play it. This is the thing I need to clarify. A lot of people love to point out the fact that Thomas Bryant has that championship ring, right? But Thomas Bryant, if you weren't already aware of this, Thomas Bryant did not actually really see the court for the Denver Nuggets in that series, or rather in those finals. He only played one game. He played one game, but nevertheless, he does have a ring. He does come with over 20 plus games, 23 games to be exact, of playoff experience. And I think that he's going to be such a damn valuable addition to this roster. somebody that brings just so much depth out there. And I cannot wait to see him continue to develop a chemistry with the rest of the players on this roster, because I just think that he adds so much. And I think this is a match made in heaven in terms of the signing out there. And I still can't believe we are able to get both he and Larry Nance Jr., but we needed to see him hit that game winner out there. Off the Travers feed. We didn't get it, but it was a beautiful play call, nevertheless, from Kenny Atkinson. So I hope we continue to see him get a solid amount of minutes. I don't know what that's going to look like, because, again, as I led off by saying, I do believe that Larry Nance Jr. is going to be presumptively the player that gets the bulk of those backup 5 minutes. I think Evan Mobley, he's too damn good not to get minutes with the second unit as the 5. So I think Evan and Larry Nance Jr. are going to be your primary backup 5s. And Thomas Bryant is going to be sprinkled in there, matchup dependent and or back-to-back, or be a situational play in case of foul trouble. But it just, to have that type of talent as a depth piece, that's just phenomenal, man. It's phenomenal. And I can't believe that they were able to get that done. Now, again, I know Cleveland lost this game, but I think everybody should be stoked about each and every one of the developments that you got tonight. Now, again, this was Lonzo Ball's unofficial debut in the wine and gold, and it did not go the best from a statistical standpoint. In his 11 minutes of 48 and 48 seconds of action, he was 0-4 from the field, 0-3 from three-point range, put up 0 points. He did dole at least 1 assist, but he was a -9. Again, I'm not going to hold any of this against Lonzo. I don't feel like I need to be worried about Lonzo Ball. I think that they have everything they need to walk him along slowly, bring him along slowly, and not put too much pressure on him. And again, we just got the news just yesterday that he's not going to play back-to-backs, and he's going to be limited to less than 20 minutes per game. And I think that's the right decision. Mind you, Ty Jerome, he only played 19.9 last year, and he was still a finalist for Sixth Man of the Year. I think Lonzo Ball has that talent in him, but we have to be able to manage him, because ultimately what we're trying to do here is see him play playoff basketball and contribute at a high level. So you're gonna have to be smart about your utilization of Lonzo, and knowing that you have Craig Porter Jr. as the next guy waiting in the wings, knowing that you have Tyrese Proctor potentially as another guy who could go out there and be dependable. That's good. So I'm not really putting too much stock in what I saw from Lonzo tonight. I think that shot, and this is the thing with Lonzo, right? The 3-point shot making is going to be a swing skill for Lonzo when he's out there. He only shot 34.4% from three-point distance last year. He's a career 36.2% shooter from three-point distance. And listen, he's a sub 40% shooter from the field overall. He's never truly been that efficient in terms of field goals. But what I can say is, prior to the 2 missed seasons, he was trending upward in a major way. 37.5% in his first season with New Orleans, 37.8% the season to follow that, 42.3% from three-point distance in his first season in Chicago. And then he missed 2 years. And so I'm going to give him a lot of the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him a lot of runway here to try and get those percentages up, because if we can get Lonzo shooting around 36, 37% out there from three-point distance, hopefully around 38, 39 eventually, we're going to be good, along with the playmaking you get on both ends of the floor, because not only is he a hell of a facilitator out there, he is a defensive playmaker. He's a disruptor out there. He's somebody that you can trust in perimeter isolation, somebody you can trust in the passing lanes, and somebody who can actually reject shots. I mean, as a guard, 6'6", 6'5", or so, wherever you look, right, you're gonna find a different height listed for Lonzo in a lot of different places. But Lonzo is actually one of the better guards at rejecting shots, with the size and wingspan that he has out there. And so they're gonna be careful with him. He did play against his old team. I'm sure there's a little bit of a nerve kind of thing going on there. Same thing that I can say about Isaac Okoro on the opposite end of the floor. I think Isaac was noticeably nervous at points. But what I can say is that Lonzo, on paper at least, adds so much that you're willing to forgo the percentages that you see, and you're willing to take the chances and and just kind of wait on him getting back to a little bit more efficiency in terms of that three-point shot. And so while it wasn't the best or most efficient performance from him in his unofficial debut, I was just stoked to see him donning the wine and gold. And that's where I'm at with Lonzo as of right now. As for the rest of the starters out there, Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen, I'm not really concerned at all about anything good or bad that I saw from them. Donovan put up 7 points in his 17 minutes and 41 seconds of action. Jarrett Allen put up 5 points and pulled down a singular rebound. I'm not putting any stock into that. I've seen everything that I need to see out of these guys. It was really just the second unit players and some of the debuts that I was hoping to take something away from. And damn it, that's what we got. That's what we got from them. Now, there were points where like the second unit could not score, right? Dean Wade was 1 of 5 from the field. There were points where Craig Porter Jr., where it looked like he was probably going to struggle to score, but he quickly turned that around. Lonzo obviously struggled to score the basketball. But I'll tell you another player that I was really, really high on heading into this offseason, and he did not disappoint in the Summer League or tonight, and that's Naquan Tomlin, a very talented young player who I believe will eventually be converted. I think the Cavaliers are going to use and stretch out his 50-game eligibility on that two-way deal. He was a player that was able to contribute 11 points, 3 rebounds tonight. He did drill one of his 3 triples. He was 4 of 8 from the field. I really, really believe that Naquan Tomlin, with the rest of this season as the backdrop, is going to be able to develop into a back end or rotation player by the end of the season. I see it in his game. I get a lot of the disbelief in his abilities from a defensive standpoint. I understand that a lot of people think that he needs to add size to his frame. I completely understand these things, but I just think that he is skilled enough offensively and he can be shielded enough defensively to be rendered a really, really valuable player in the back end of their rotation. But again, I think they're going to take things slowly. They're going to continue to evaluate him. I'm glad that he is around the big league club and has that ability to play games with a charge. But I do really, really believe in his abilities out there. And I think that he was another player that really, really impressed me, at least in terms of the offensive production. I liked his off-ball movement. He had a couple of nice cuts to the basket. He was clearly trying on the glass tonight, and the ability to knock down that triple, that's always a plus. And so I love that for Cleveland. I truly do. The rest of the guys, Tristan Enaruna, Killian Hayes, who the Cavaliers signed, and will likely play basically all of his games with a charge. He is not two-way eligible, and unless Cleveland suffers some type of injury to their backcourt, I do not look for Killian Hayes to see the court anytime soon for the Cavs. Tristan Enaruna, as I mentioned, he just I really loved what I saw from him during Summer League, and I do believe that he will eventually wind up on that two-way if it is not Norchad Omir, who we did not see tonight. But I do believe that he is a developmental piece and nothing more right now. Luke Travers. Listen, Luke Travers is a player that has always kind of had my attention. But I think the thing with Luke is that three-point shot is so much of a limiting factor in his game that it is one of those things where he may never actually be able to get past being a two-way player. I'm not writing him off, obviously. He did not attempt a triple tonight. I do believe that he did some things out there that that are notable. I thought that the final pass could have been a little bit better, but it was still in enough position for Thomas Bryant to actually win the game. But I do believe that he has glue guy potential. It's just all about that three-point shot making. That is the swing skill for him. I don't know if we'll ever be able to get to that point, but I still have hopes, admittedly, in Luke Travers being able to be a contributor down the line. I've always said that he reminds me a lot of Kyle Anderson. And for those of you who haven't followed Kyle for a while. He's another guy who struggled with that 3-point shot early on in his career, eventually became a decent enough. Again, he's still not a great shooter, but he became a decent enough shot maker from range to eventually break through. And I do think that is still possible for Luke, but you got to take the shot. I mean, you got to be able to take it. But again, you got to take what the defense gives you too. Um, it's not just about pulling up and taking shots. You have to actually do so within the flow of the game, especially if you're not a great shooter. But it's really everything. That's really everything there is to talk about from the rest of the roster tonight. We saw Miller Kopp. I'm not expecting anything more out of Miller just because he's not going to be he's an afterthought. A training camp invite basically, same way that Killian was. He'll probably spend the season with the Charge. Didn't see Channing Johnson, didn't see Norchad Omier. Again, obviously no Sam Merrill, and then the rest of the players that we did not see tonight, Darius, Max. But I like where we're at, man. I like where we're at. This is one of the deepest teams, if not the deepest team in basketball on paper. I'm trying to contain myself because it is just one game, and I do believe that some of the things that we saw tonight, you're not going to see every night. You're not going to see Craig Porter Jr. knock down 5 triples. You're not going to see him go 5 of 5 from 3-point range every single night, but just knowing that he looks better out there than he did in any point in his previous 2 seasons, at least in terms of that 3-point shot, especially on ball. That's big time. Tyrese Proctor, that was a big time performance out of him tonight. Larry Nance Jr., that was a big time performance out of him. Evan Mobley, you already know I could talk all the live long day about what we saw from him. But this was a hell of a start to preseason. And what better way to kick things off than to hop into the chat? HJ17 Gaming says, man, I know he didn't hit his shots, but Jalen was so impressive on the defensive end tonight. The shot will eventually fall. And listen, like I said with Jalen Tyson at the start to kick things off here, Jalen Tyson has to be able to knock down that shot in order to play nightly. I already believe that there's a path to minutes for him. I already believe that he has the talent to do it, but he has to be able to be semi-competent in that area because it's fun, right? To have a player that is very, very modeled after a Josh Hart. He's a very Josh Hart type of player, but you still have to be able to knock down that shot, right? Josh Hart be the first person to tell you that that is something that he is still working on. He's a career 34.2% shooter from range, 33.3% from the field. The one thing he does do very well is he's a great finisher, right? 42.5 or 52.5% from the field last year overall for Josh Hart. If Jalen Tyson is not a player who gets a lot of on-ball opportunities, or he's not somebody that gets a lot of touches, he's going to have to be a great 3-point marksman, or at least a serviceable one, to be able to be out there. Because again, that is the same exact situation, same exact type of dilemma that the Cavs found themselves in for years with Isaac. And again, Isaac, to me, as much as people think that he is a bust, and that's up to you. You want to consider him a bust, that's not my place to tell you, but he is somebody that definitely started to ramp things up in terms of the efficiency. The volume was never truly there for Isaac Okoro, but the one thing that you can say for him is that after his rookie season, where he shot 29% from 3-point distance, he steadily improved. 35% in year 2, 36.3% in year 3, 39.1% in year 4, and he did shoot 37.1% last season. And again, that AC joint sprain injury that he suffered did drop the percentages quite a bit. The one difference with Jalen and Isaac is the confidence, though. He took 5 triples tonight. Isaac actually took 6 tonight, but it has been such a up and down thing for him in terms of the confidence to pull that trigger. That, to me, is the biggest difference between those two players, is the confidence factor. I think Jalen, even if he's not knocking down that shot, he has proven that he will at least attempt it. But again, you still got to make it, because the defense is going to sag off of you. They're going to double somebody else. You have to be able to make them pay for cheating off of you so badly. You got to make them pay for giving you that space out there. And I think that it will come in time. But as Reggie Miller said, like you got to be able to do that if you're gonna play consistently. Novak OVO, no cap OVO says Thomas Bryant pissed me off. I'm not gonna be too mad at Thomas Bryant, right? I do believe that he could have won the game for the Cavaliers, but that's such a small increment of time to work with. I'm not going to be too mad about it. I still thought it was a good performance out of him. Trip says, great game. Tyrese Proctor definitely surprised me in the best way possible. I'm right there with you, right? I liked what I saw out of Tyrese Proctor overall during summer league, but there were clearly still points where you're like, okay, this guy has to get his efficiency under order. He's got to get us consistently, or got to get us consistently. Oh, consistency, man, that word is fucking me up. You got to get the consistency in place in order for him to be an NBA level role player. And I believe that we got a big time performance out of him tonight. And I thought the confidence was showing through. I love the on ball skills that he showed, the step backs, the turnaround jumpers, right? The behind the back dribbling. It was all there, and it was phenomenal. Jay Quest says CPJ was fire. He absolutely was. Again, man, that was such a wonderful performance from Craig Porter Jr. 5 of 5 from 3-point range is never something that I thought I would be saying about Craig Porter Jr. Never Bloom says, Mac the GOAT. Good to see you streaming after the first game. Man, y'all know I'm going to be up here every single game, win or lose. You know I'm going to be up here even when I'm tired as hell like I am tonight. Hailstone says, excited for this season. If Life Spoke says, since Summer League 1 year ago, I'll always overreact to Tyson. I think Proctor can make up for Ty's scoring people are worried about. Lastly, the standing ovation for Isaac made me tear up a little bit. Yeah, just in case you guys weren't aware, much like they do for many other players, right? Cavs fans are really, really good in that way. And when a player returns, they'll either give him a standing ovation, there'll be some type of tribute, there'll be something that happens that just it's good, right? It feels good. It's good to the soul. And I think Isaac Okoro is somebody that the one thing you can never question about Isaac is that the heart. He always showed a lot of heart. He always played with a lot of heart in Cleveland. And I hope that he continues to play that way for Chicago. I liked what I saw out of him tonight, objectively speaking. And he's somebody's career who I'll be following, much like I'll be following Ty Jerome's and, some of the other former Cavaliers out there. But I gotta say that was a good moment. Jay Deus says Thomas Bryant is good for 14th spot. Boy, is he uncoordinated. Part of the reason I wasn't as high on the move. I see. I'm not gonna shit on him. One thing I will say though is that I think it's pretty clear, and it should be to most of you out there now, that Larry Nance Jr. is the backup 5. Damn the size. I know at 6'8", a lot of people out there don't love the fact that Larry Nance is probably going to be the backup 5, but Larry Nance Jr. is backup 5. Jake West says Tyson's defense, good place to start. Phenomenal defensive effort we got out of him tonight, man. Those 2 blocks, one of them from the weak side as the help defender. That was just some crazy shit, man. I did not expect to see that out of Jalen Tyson tonight. He gave all the effort. HJ17 Gaming says, man, Larry was the MVP. I agree with you, man. He also says Dre with the stars was beautiful. Yeah, man, I was really stoked about that one. I think we all wanted to see that be on our screens and get that notification across our phones, and the Cavaliers put their starting 5 out there on the timeline. I'm in love with the fact that we're going to have some size at that position in the starting lineup. And this is no disrespect to Max Strus, no disrespect to Sam Merrill when he plays at the 3, no disrespect to anybody else out there, but I just believe that DeAndre Hunter is the right man for the job. But we'll see how the season goes. Benny T says Larry Nance Jr. shooting his normal percentage from 3 will make this offense look more unstoppable. DG and Max are such huge losses too. They absolutely are. And again, there were points throughout this game where the second unit was struggling to score points prior to Tyrese Proctor exploding and Craig Porter Jr. going nuclear out there. But I do believe that Larry Nance Jr. will be a good shooter this season relative to what we saw these last couple of seasons. Do I think he's going to be a 40% shooter from range? No, I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think we'll probably see something in the 37 to 38% range for him on solid volume. And I'd be more than happy with that, considering everything else he brings to the table. Josh T says Evan is stronger and better. I agree. I truly do. Jquest says it was a sick play. Travers put it up a little too high. Yeah, he did. But I still believe that was still a makeable thing out there. It sucked at the end of the way it did, but man, I'm so damn happy. Josh T says Bust is strong for real on ice. Disappoint me, yes, but he gets another go for himself. I like Tyson, though. I do think the ability to shoot is there, but Def got to show up. Absolutely, right? I'm still a big believer in Isaac Okoro. He's still got a fan in me. I don't think he's necessarily, and I guess it's relative to what you consider the standard for a top 5 pick. But here's the thing. The COVID draft of 2020 was such an oddity that I'm not going to. You have to look at that draft differently than normal drafts. You just do. It was such a crapshoot. So I'm not going to poo-poo anybody because there are a lot of players that fell down towards the back end of that first round that should, if there was a redraft, things would have been completely different. I mean, listen, it's just such a bullshit draft. And Isaac was at the very least serviceable. He just didn't pan out the way that we wanted him to. Nicotine says Kenny should have taken the timeout to advance the ball at the end. Yeah, but still, I'll give him kudos for the play that he drew up. That was beautiful. That was beautifully executed too. It wasn't the perfect pass by Travers, but I do believe it was makeable. It was a winnable game. But this is preseason. I don't give a fuck about wins or losses. I like the individual developments that we saw, and I think we saw everything that we needed to see tonight, outside of maybe Lonzo Ball giving us a big time game, D Jackson says Thomas Bryant isn't that fast. Another reason why I believe Nance Jr. is going to be the backup 5. He is going to be a situational play. I think he has the skill set to be a lot more dependable, obviously, than Tristan Thompson or Robin Lopez, somebody like that. But I don't think he's going to be an everyday player. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a stacked ass roster. This is a really deep fucking team, right? No problem in being that 14th guy. No problem in being a situational play, especially come to playoffs where you're going to see some matchup that the Cavaliers are going to need that physicality for. To me, when it comes to Thomas Bryant, the playoffs are what's going to matter the most to me. Being that situational guy out there for those Mitchell Robinson types, that's going to be so big. But man, I really, really enjoyed tonight's game. I hope you guys did too. As I always tell you, if you'd like to reach out to me, I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. I gotta put this one up here. If Life Spoke says Thomas Bryant getting blocked at the end was funny. Not gonna lie, it looked like a senior blocking a freshman. Yeah, it was a pretty bad one. But it was still fun. It's all good. I liked what I saw of Thomas Bryant, all things considered, tonight. Man, oh man. If you want to support the pod in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon or on YouTube. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. The link will be in the description. Go Cavs.